You couldn't hear me. Okay. Can you make sure you're not muted on your? Are you using a phone or a computer?
He's using his phone.
Okay. Okay. I wonder if I transition. Do I have to start transitioning? Should I start looking like
So we might
Georgia?
have to just have your phone right by
It's technically
here, but
signed.
you're not going to be able to hear me.
You want me to put the phone right?
Tell me what's happening.
Okay.
Okay.
Test one, two.
Do it up there. So.
Test.
Okay, we'll call the meeting order. Ask the clerk to call the roll.
I like that a lot.
Mayor Baldwin, that is the echo from our Zoom call with Councilman Collins.
I got you.
So
Okay.
I think they're working a little more tweaks out there. So let me go ahead and call roll. Mayor Baldwin,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Thomas,
Here.
Councilman Collins, he is here via Zoom. Councilman Coyne, Councilwoman McCumbee,
Here.
Councilman Skidmore,
Here.
Councilwoman Wober.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. So I'll ask, actually, my pastor, Mitchell Livingston, with Foundations Church, to come up and give the invocation.
All right, guys, let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we do come to you and request that you give us, as well as the elected officials here today, the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding of why we are here, and most that we do, and what are we doing here now. The meeting is to inform citizens of North Myrtle Beach about the budget initiatives proposed and programs approved, financial management, resource allegations, fiscal policy, along with this framework. Father, we ask that the initiatives will be enhanced for the efficiency, the transparency, and accountability of the public fund and expenditures. May you help give this council the wisdom, efficiency, transparency, and accountability. By my holding this very budget up in my hand, we seem to be running well. However, God, we ask you to help us to run more efficiently, and even in the areas of the budget. Lord, we open our eyes and ears to hear today what is to be proposed. Let us all have the wisdom and understanding that we must live within our means. That is clear upon this budget, that the revenue still falls just a little short of the expenditures, however, not by much. Help us to examine the things that the city needs, and let us forfeit our personal wants. Let us seek wisdom and stay within our needs, but what you would have us to do, O Lord. Lord, I pray that the city will operate in the black and function properly in every area. I personally bring before you, Lord, a request to open the minds and the leaders here today. As the past 10 years, property tax, license permitting, and hospitality fees have risen every year. Just a little bit less for hospitality this year, Lord. But nonetheless, increase, we've seen a rise. The items tonight are a preliminary budget, along with 26 funded budget, and those that are not yet discussed or not yet funded. Our population of North Myrtle Beach is 15,000. The budget operating is well over 200 million, and that we can be seen. I pray, Lord, that you show us innovative ways to create income that will help the city and rely not on debt. Lord, I thank you for helping us to be a part of this meeting and strive together. We remove all discord and strife, but we call unity in this place tonight. May the God of heaven and earth give us all wisdom that we will live in this town with the things that are needed and definitely address those things that are not needed. Lord, I thank you for my city, North Myrtle Beach, my birthplace, and my home. God, they have allowed you to be a part of this meeting tonight, to know that all of our rights come from you and the freedoms from heaven. And we are here on this earth because of you, Father God. and we must be accountable for finances that we, the taxpayers, pay in this city. Government produces nothing but manages and taxpayers' money. So, Lord, we just ask tonight, we thank you in advance and ask you to bless this council members tonight. Bless the people that are here tonight, and bless all that are here tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now I'll come down and present a proclamation. All right, hold on, man. I don't know. Let's see here. Let me move this thing over here and I'll come over here. Hello. Okay, I'm live. I'm gonna get my glasses. So this is a proclamation for Lucy Buffett Day, whereas Lucy Buffett, affectionately known as Lulu, is a celebrated restaurateur, author, entrepreneur, and community leader whose passion for hospitality, food, music, and storytelling has positively impacted communities across the South. And whereas born and raised in Mobile, Alabama, Lucy Buffett comes from a family rooted in Southern traditions and hospitality and has built a distinguished career sharing those traditions through her restaurants, cookbooks, and philanthropic endeavors. Whereas Lucy Buffett is the founder of Lulu's, a beloved family dining entertainment destination known for its welcoming atmosphere, live music, coastal cuisine, and commitment to creating joyful experiences for residents and visitors alike. Whereas Lulu's North Myrtle Beach has become an integral part of the North Myrtle Beach community, contributing to the local economy, supporting tourism, creating employment opportunities, and enhancing the vibrant culture and hospitality for which our city is known. Whereas through her creativity, generosity, and entrepreneurial spirit, Lucy Buffett has inspired countless individuals while promoting family and community engagement, Southern culinary traditions, and the spirit of coastal living. Whereas the city of North Myrtle Beach recognizes Lucy Buffett's contributions to the hospitality industry and her lasting impact on the residents and visitors of North Myrtle Beach. Now, therefore, I, J.O. Baldwin III, Mayor of the city of North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, along with the City Council, do hereby proclaim June 5th, 2026 as Lucy Buffett Day throughout the North Myrtle Beach, and encourage all citizens to recognize and celebrate Lucy Buffett's contributions to our community, culture, and hospitality industry.
Oh. Thank you. Do I say a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you to the mayor, to the esteemed city council, to all of you who support hospitality. Without you all, Lulu's would not be here. Lulu's only goes in very special places, and I am thrilled, and I have felt welcomed ever since we chose to come to North Myrtle Beach. And it has been such a beautiful experience. I'm deeply honored. I'm humbled. My mama and daddy would be proud. And thank y'all very much. We're about the fun, the food, the music, and doing things well, and supporting our community and making sure our families are taken care of. That's what we're built on. And I think we're in the perfect place in North Myrtle Beach. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Here, we'll go back this way and get a picture. Okay, we will move into consent agenda, and the item on here is Horry County Multiple Jurisdictional All Hazards Mitigation Plan. Ryan, can you explain that, please?
Yeah, so the federal government, FEMA, requires us to have a hazard mitigation plan in place, and it's good for 5 years. So every 5 years, we have to work to put together a plan and adopt it. The last go-around, we went and the city went and did it on its own because we were given FEMA funds from I think it was Hurricane Florence, can't remember which one, but it basically paid for us to go hire an engineer and do our own plan. But we're on the same schedule as the county. It made more sense this go around to partner up with the county and just partner with them for their multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. And we were the only municipality that wasn't part of that, so it made sense to jump on. So I believe our hazard mitigation plan expired yesterday. So this, if we adopt this, would be good for the next 5 years. It makes us eligible for any FEMA funds or anything assistance that might come along with a disaster event.
Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any comments or questions from council? Are there any comments or questions from the public? Hearing none, we'll take our vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All against? Ayes have it. We'll move into unfinished business, which is an ordinance, second reading, amendment to the Towers on the Grove Plan Development Agreement, PDD, creating an oceanfront paid parking lot. Is there a motion to approve?
Wait, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor Baldwin. The first reading for the resolution did not have a motion, so
Got
we need
you.
to do a motion for that one.
Sorry, okay. I need to go back, do a motion for the Horry County Multi-Jurisdictional All-Hazard Mitigation Plan. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All against? Ayes have it. Okay. Now we'll move back into second reading, amendments to the Towers on the Grove Plan Development Agreement, PDD, creating an oceanfront paid parking lot. Is there a motion to approve? Okay, we have a motion, a second. Is there any comment by council?
I do have a question in regards to the, what of the lots or the parking spaces, which one are the compact spaces? And how many are there out of the 37 that are being proposed, or 27 that are being proposed?
This design was reconfigured once we were able to move the access to the south, and it made it a lot more efficient of a design, so there actually are no compact spaces in this design. They're all full size.
All right, great, because I couldn't find them on this drawing. That's better. Thank you.
I have a couple I know last time the applicant had come in and had a different plan than was originally submitted, and I think we talked about it would have to go back to the planning commission, and it did that?
Yes, sir. The plan that they had showed us last time had the access entrance on the north side of the lot. And then when the DOT said that they could not support that, they redesigned it to have the access on the south side.
Okay.
Well, that made the lot a lot more efficient to lay it out in a different way. And so you guys referred it back to the Planning Commission. And then it also went to TRC before Planning Commission. And we invited the next door neighbors at the the association, the homeowners association there to come and attend those meetings, and they were very happy that with the result that they got, because it ended up moving the
Porta-John.
Porta-Johns over to the other side. So they were very grateful that we included them in the process, and Planning Commission approved it and sent it back for your
Right, okay.
reconsideration.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions by council?
I had one, Jim, before you sit down. They, we discussed a fence, I think. Did they decide to go with shrubs instead of a fence? Okay.
That's right. There's an existing fence there already, and I don't think they plan on changing the section that's already there. But there will be a landscape buffer in addition to that.
So Jim, we received an email that the HOA was happy with the original plan. What has changed? You are confirming they were happy with it as well?
Yes, I spoke with the lady. I'm trying to remember what her name was now, but I have it in my email. But I spoke with her, and she was very grateful that we included them in the process.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions by council? Are there any comments or questions by the public regarding this item? Hearing none, we'll take our vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All against? Ayes have it. We'll move into new business. Item A is the ordinance, first reading amendment to Chapter 10, Finance and Taxation of the Code of Ordinances of North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina regarding to the fiscal year. And this is a housekeeping item, but again, I'll prefer to our city manager to explain that.
Yeah, so somewhere in the 90s, we changed our fiscal year to what it is now, but we failed to update it in our local code of ordinances. So we've been operating on this fiscal year for a very long time. It's just we want to go make this adjustment so it's consistent in our ordinances.
Are there any comments by council? Are there any comments by the public? Hearing none, we'll take our vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All against? Ayes have it. I'm sorry. I thought we had a motion. Did we not have a motion? All right, I need a motion for item A.
So moved.
Second.
On a new, all right, got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right, I won't do that again, except for this, doesn't need a motion because we're going to move into a presentation by on our audit, by Green Finley Colley, LLP.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask Emily Sobchak, who's a partner with Green Finney Colley, who's our new independent auditing firm. First time that's been changed up in over 40 years. Just want to point that out. So we're happy to have them aboard, and she's going to make a presentation about the year ending June 30th, 2024.
Good evening. As he said, my name is Emily Sobchak. I'm with Green Finney Colley, and I oversaw the fiscal 2024 financial statement audit, and I'll be presenting those results this evening. Before we look at the numbers, it's important to remember that the financial statements, that entire report, all of the disclosures, that is the responsibility of the city. And it's the city's responsibility to ensure that the financial information that's provided both at year end for audit purposes, but also that's being provided throughout the year for you to make decisions based on, that information is complete, accurate, and reliable. And so in order to ensure that the information is reliable, we need to have good policies and procedures in place, including internal controls that will mitigate the risk of misstatement. Our responsibility as your auditor is to audit the financial information provided and issue an opinion based on our audit. We have issued an unmodified opinion. That's a clean opinion. That opinion provides reasonable assurance that the financial statements are materially correct. So it's important to remember that we're providing reasonable assurance, which is a high level of assurance, but it's not absolute. We're not looking at every single transaction that occurred during the year. And we're also using materiality to design our audit procedures. We do note there that while the opinion is unmodified, so it's a clean opinion, there are a couple of additional paragraphs included in the opinion to describe some changes in the financial report compared to prior year. I'll talk a little bit more about those changes in just a few minutes, but in short, they were some changes to how some of your funds are being presented, and also some corrections of errors that were in the prior year report. Because of all of the changes that occurred in the current year report compared to the prior year, we omitted the management's discussion and analysis for fiscal '24. Oh, sorry, thanks. Because the financials weren't readily comparable, but we will include that in the fiscal '25 report to compare '25 to '24. Uh-oh. Thank you. There we go. Okay.
Use the keyboard.
Oh, it's working now.
It's working out.
Okay, so now we'll look at your financial results, starting with your general fund. Your general fund had a decrease in fund balance of 1.3 million, bringing total fund balance to 28.3 million as of June 30th. Included in that 28.3 million is a small amount that's classified as non-spendable. So you've got about 420,000 that's primarily in your inventories. So those assets are not in spendable form. You also have restricted fund balance of 1.2 million for public safety. The majority of that represents your firefighters' 1% funds. Those are restricted by state law. And then the remaining 26.6 million is classified as unassigned fund balance. So that's the amount that's available for future operations. When we look at that unassigned fund balance, we like to compare it to your operating expenditures to gauge how healthy that fund balance is. And so when we compare your unassigned fund balance to your 2024 expenditures, we're looking at about 36% of your expenditures in fund balance, so about 4 months of expenditures. We consider that to be a good, healthy position. We have one benchmark that's provided by the Government Finance Officers Association. They say that you should maintain at least 2 months of operating expenditures in that unassigned fund balance. However, I would caution you to remember that that's a generic recommendation that's provided for all local governments across the nation. And so when we determine what is a healthy fund balance for the city of North Myrtle Beach, there are a number of factors that we want to consider. So one of those factors is cash flows. We, of course, are measuring fund balance as of June 30th. About 6 months of cash flows to get through before your property tax revenues will start coming in. And so having an understanding of what those cash flows look like and what your fund balance looks like as you're nearing the end of the calendar year is an important factor to consider. We also want to ensure that the city is in a position that when grant funding becomes available, that you're able to meet any matching needs. And also, of course, as a coastal community, you have the additional factor of needing to be prepared for future natural disasters. Of course, if a hurricane comes through, we hope that FEMA funding is available to help support the city. However, we can't rely that it will be there. And even if it is, oftentimes FEMA funding does take months or years to come in. And so you still have to be able to meet those cash flow needs. And to be able to do that with limited or no issuance of debt to fund operations, that will help save the city money long term. So now we'll look at your general fund activity, starting with your revenues, which totaled $65 million for the year. That was a 13% increase compared to the prior year. And in addition to your operating revenues, we also saw net other financing sources of $8 million. That represents your interfund transfers. So transfers from accommodations tax, hospitality tax, and your water and sewer fund. On your expenditures, you have general fund expenditures totaling $74.3 million. And those expenditures are going to look a little bit different from the prior year. As I said, we did have a number of reporting changes. One of those changes is that several of the funds that were previously reported as enterprise funds are now being included in your general fund. So think things like beach services, the aquatic and fitness center, and the sports and tourism fund. Those services are largely supported by general revenues of the city. And so rather than being reported as enterprise funds, which are intended to operate more like businesses, we're, like I said, now reporting those in the general fund. And so one of the things that comes with that change is that those funds are no longer reporting depreciation expense at the fund level, and capital additions, rather than being reported as assets, are reported as capital outlay. Because, of course, on our governmental funds, we're focused on current assets and current liabilities. Our governmental funds are not reporting long-term assets and debt. So When we look at all of your governmental funds combined, so taking the general fund plus your state and local administration of 3.2 million. So looking now at your water and sewer fund, this is an enterprise fund, and as I mentioned, enterprise funds are used for services that are operating like businesses. And so these funds do report long-term assets and long-term obligations. So the water and sewer fund had an increase in net position of 2.4 million compared to the prior year. And total net position for the fund is 94 million as of June 30th. But remember, because we are reporting long-term assets and obligations, it's important to note that that 94 million is not in liquid assets. The majority of it, or about 88.5 million, represents your net investment in capital assets, so your investment in the sewer system. Also, as I previously mentioned, some of the funds that were previously reported as enterprise funds are now being reported in your governmental activities. Those include the solid waste, aquatic and fitness center, beach services, and the sports and tourism park funds. So let's now look at your capital assets for the city. Your governmental activities reported total capital assets of 173.1 million. That was an increase of 13.7 million compared to the prior year, primarily as a result of increases in your infrastructure additions and other ongoing capital projects. Your business type activities, so again, that's your water and sewer fund, had capital assets of 88.8 million. That was an increase of 1.3 million from the prior year. The most significant additions for your water and sewer fund represented the developer contributions that were received in the current year. Now looking at your long-term obligations, we have long-term debt outstanding for your governmental activities, and I'm sorry, that's long-term debt plus compensated absences of 4.4 million. That was a decrease from the prior year as you had your scheduled principal payments. And as noted, included in that 4.4 million is 1.9 million of compensated absences, that's earned but unused vacation leave. Your business type activities have long-term obligations of 572,000. Again, that was a decrease from the prior year as you made principal payments during the year. And included in that balance was 248,000 of compensated absences for your water and sewer employees. In addition to our more typical long-term obligations, we also continue to report the net pension liability. As you may recall, this relates to your participation in the state police officers' retirement system. And so this is not a direct liability for the city. Rather, it's your proportionate share of the total unfunded actuarial liability of the system. And so while it's a significant balance of 19 million as of June 30th, it's not a balance that you're expected to write a check to pay off. Rather, what you are expected to pay is the required employer contributions, and those are at state mandated rates. Those rates are significant. They've been increasing steadily for over 10 years. We reached a rate of 21.2% for fiscal 24. That rate has now remained fixed at 21.2% for fiscal 25 and fiscal 26. But it is significant, and so it's important that when you're making personnel decisions that you are considering not only the salary component, but also the significant fringe benefits. Similar to the net pension liability, we also report a net OPEB liability. This relates to the city's retiree health care plan. And like the pension liability, it is an actuarial liability, so it is an estimate of future benefits that will be paid for services already provided. And again, it's significant at 19.4 million. But unlike the pension plan, where those contribution rates are mandated by the state, because the retiree health care plan is the city's plan, council does have the authority to determine the plan terms and amend those terms, including how the plan is funded and what benefits are provided going forward. As I mentioned earlier in my presentation, we did have several changes from the prior year, which required us to restate prior year opening balances. And so those changes included the conversion of some of those enterprise funds to the general fund. We also had to correct some errors. The capital assets were overstated in the prior year financial report. And so that was corrected in the current year. We also corrected the presentation of how the OPEB liability, that retiree healthcare plan liability, is reported. We reclassified the Fireman's 1% fund from a fiduciary fund where it no longer qualified based on current accounting standards. We moved that also into the general fund. And we also corrected the measurement of some of your lease receivables based on the most current guidance from the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. The city is required to have a single audit conducted in years that federal expenditures exceed $750,000. So for fiscal '24, federal expenditures were less than that threshold, so no single audit was required. However, you do still have a compliance section in your financial statement report because we do perform our audits in accordance with government auditing standards, and those standards require us to issue a second opinion that's in the back of the report. And we're required to also disclose any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in your internal controls or any material noncompliance that's identified during the audit process. So we have a couple of findings back there. The first is related to the timeliness of the financial closeout. Previous management did not properly and timely close out the financials, which is why I'm presenting fiscal '24 audit results this evening. I know that the current management and their team have worked terribly hard to get this trial balance closed out and ready for audit and to help us through the audit process. And so we really appreciate all of the work that they've put into making this happen. Also, we have a finding related to those errors that were in the prior year report that required correction during the current year. In addition to your audit report, you'll also receive a management letter that provides some highlights of the audit and the audit results. So I encourage you when you receive that to make sure you give that a read. That brings me to the end of my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all have.
I do have a couple of questions. Number one is, it wasn't a few changes, it was a lot of changes. And it's really, really detailed, and I like what you've done, and I appreciate staff in organizing this and getting us caught up to speed. I'm not sure when we will actually get this in our hands so we can review it and get a little more detailed on it. But I feel very comfortable in that. In the bottom line, we have that because it's been our goal as a city to maintain that reserve balance of 35%, and now we're at 36 point some odd percent. So that is very good news and very comforting. Are you going to speak to 25, or has this been filed, and when will we get a copy of it?
So we are in the process of finalizing the report, sending it through our quality review process, and we hope to have that completed and the report issued by the end of the week.
And it will go to the, I guess, the state or whoever needs to get it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And are you going to speak to 25?
I will say that we received the fiscal '25 trial balance. That is, there are just a couple of open items. We received that today. And so as soon as we get the fiscal '24 report finalized and issued, then we'll start working on '25. We understand that it is very important to council and to management that '25 audit is completed as timely as possible. And we'll do the best we can, knowing that there may be some challenges given that the management, that the finance department that was in place during fiscal '25 is no longer in place. So sometimes that can result in some challenges. But based on our experience working with the city for fiscal '24, I expect things to go pretty smoothly.
Speculate on a time?
I will just say that we'll get it done as efficiently as we can and turn it around for you. Just hopefully I'll be back here in a few months presenting that one.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions by council? Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. We will move into the public hearing on the FY 2027 proposed budget.
All right. All right, good evening, everyone. Council, Mayor. Tonight, we present the proposed fiscal year 2027 budget for the city of North Myrtle Beach, covering the period from July 1, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. And as required by South Carolina state law, this public hearing has been properly advertised to allow for public comment before council action is taken. The total proposed budget across all funds stands at $190.2 million, which reflects a balanced, responsible financial plan and a 5.4% increase over fiscal year 2026. And in an effort to enhance transparency and operational excellence, we have simplified our city finances by consolidating our budget structure into 5 major funds. Emily kind of talked about that previously. That includes incorporating a lot of our formerly separated enterprise and special funds, such as solid waste, beach services, the aquatic and fitness center, sports tourism. They now all fall under our major operating fund, which is the general fund. So this comprehensive framework positions us to successfully deliver major community projects. Specifically, it funds the ongoing expansion of our aquatic and fitness center. It fulfills our cost match for vital ocean outfall infrastructure projects that we have with the Army Corps. It prepares the city for the opening of our new fire station number 7 that will come in line in 2027. And it maps out the completion of Champions Boulevard widening project, which has been going on for a while. So that'll get us through that project. So our budget for the upcoming fiscal year is built on 4 foundational priorities. And it's community resilience, and that is us dedicated to ensuring the consistent delivery of essential municipal services as our population and service demands continue to scale. It focuses on operational excellence and baseline growth, and by restructuring into the 5 major funds like I discussed earlier, we're modernizing our procurement and operational systems. We're ensuring every taxpayer dollar directly supports current city needs with maximum efficiency. So we're making sure that every dollar that comes in is specifically targeted at providing a specific service. And then fiscal sustainability. So a critical focus of this year is reducing our historical reliance on economically sensitive, tourist-driven revenues to fund core operations. That'll be a theme throughout this entire presentation. But we want to stabilize the resources required for daily municipal operations and align reoccurring expenditures with stable revenue. So that is why we are proposing an operational millage increase from 45 mills to 50. And this adjustment only second property tax increase in the past 9 years. And it's specifically structured to bring our real property tax revenues into closer alignment with the $38 million it costs to provide public safety services to our citizens. It also focused on strategic asset and facility management. So we are shifting away from reactive repairs and maintenance towards long-term asset longevity. This centralized capital asset fund consolidation, it takes our separate capital fund. We had a bunch of capital funds before. Now it puts it into 3 main funds under the capital asset. Its capital improvement plan, the comprehensive maintenance plan, and the asset replacement plan. And we're trying to fund those all through those economically sensitive, tourism-driven tax dollars that we receive. General fund reliance on tourism, which is kind of what I talked about earlier. You know, I don't have to explain to people in the room that everything costs more money. I mean, everything in everyone's lives costs more now than it did last year, than it did 5 years ago. And that also applies to what we do here at the city. So what we're trying to do is, as you can see by this graph, we historically, over time, the cost of running this city has gone up incrementally over time. And every year, instead of going and asking for a millage increase to keep up with the cost of running this city, it was decided that we would just take a little bit from those tourism-driven revenues. And over time, it's kind of gone out of whack to where we have a significant amount of our operations being supported by tourism-driven revenues. And what this budget does is kind of reallocates it so that the percentage of those funds that are supporting the core functions of our government, providing services, we're trying to make it so it's not so supported by those revenue sources. Now, listen, we're a population of 23,000 people, but we have an organization that is sized to provide services to 100,000 people. So we're not ever going to get off reliance on those tax dollars, those tourism, hospitality, accommodations tax revenues. We're never going to get off of them entirely, but we can do it so where it's minimalized, and most of our core functions, our core services that we provide to our constituents are funded through more stable revenue sources like property tax revenue or business licenses. So to me, the vision that I had when we're putting together this budget, my obligation is to those who live here, to those who call the city of North Myrtle Beach home. This is where they go to sleep every night. This is where they have decided to spend their daily life. And to me, the most important thing is that we are able to provide the services regardless of whatever economic impact comes our way, whether it's a hurricane, whether it's just a downfall in tourism because of some other factor, maybe it's high gas prices and we don't get as many people coming here on vacation. We want to be more resilient so that we can weather the storm in the event of a down year. We'll always be reliant more on property tax to fund public safety, public works, parks and rec, all the things that we rely on day to day, so that if we do have something that disrupts it, we can do something like cut a project or not purchase 5 garbage trucks, we'll just do 2. That way we don't have to cut employees at first. That's not the first line of defense. Now, naturally, there might be some sort of event, like a COVID event or something that lasts multiple years, and yeah, then we'll be pushed into a position where we have to make harder decisions, and that might ultimately be what we have to do. But by putting the focus on taking down that amount of ATAX and hospitality dollars that are supporting our general fund core services, we're more resilient to anything that comes our way in the future. So I'm going to bring up Marcy Kotov, who has been with us for almost a year now, working in the capacity. She's a consultant. She's got over 40 years of government accounting, finance and accounting background, and most recently she was with the town of Mount Pleasant, where she was their chief financial officer until she retired in 2024. So I'm going to bring her up, get into the details on the numbers, and go over them with everybody. I'll then wrap it up, and then want to hear everyone's feedback and open it up to the public.
No, you made me feel old suddenly. No. Good evening. Again, my name's Marcy Kotov, and I have been here almost a year. I'm really enjoying the town, I have to tell you. So to start with the budget, what you have before you, it's been said it's $190.2 million. It is a 5.4% increase over the prior year. So don't want to beat a dead horse. Again, you'll see this combination that these governmental funds were all put together in the operational fund for the city. So the proposed general fund is a 3.9% increase over the current year. This does incorporate the 5 mil increase that takes the millage rate from 45 to 50 mil per 1,000 of assessed value. So I'm just going to kind of quickly go through a lot of these at a high level. This is the component that really shows in a picture what the revenues and the expenditures look like. So in the bottom left, you have the revenues. The large pink slice is property and other taxes, makes up 36% or 34 million. Top right, you see the expenditures. And one of the things that we looked at was this imbalance, if you will. When you're looking at public safety alone, it takes more than just property taxes. It takes other governmental taxes to support our public safety. Compensation. In this budget, is proposed compensation. We have a cost of living of 4% beginning October for full-time employees. We have 4 new positions in the general fund. So there are just 4 within this that we deemed critical enough to include. Another piece of the compensation is premium pay. And what that means is when you have public safety staff that on their day off get called in to meet minimum staffing requirements, that they would get time and a half at that point, regardless of where their status is at that time. And that helps make sure that we meet minimum staffing in our public safety at every shift. There's also some part-time staffing at the park and sports complex with the expansion to make sure we have proper coverage. There is a 16% increase in health insurance. This is to help based on what the actual estimate of our cost. We are self-insured, what our costs are going to be. This is the amount that funds that along with the employees portion. And finally, there is a wage increase for some of our beach seasonal staff to make sure that we're competitive and can retain good staff out there on our beaches. So the proposed capital fund, this again is one that combined 5 different capital funds into one. And when we did that, we structured this new capital asset fund in 3 components. The first component is the capital improvement program, the larger projects or larger capital new or large maintenance projects. But the everyday comprehensive maintenance of our facilities and beach access, those fall under the comprehensive maintenance plan. And then our asset replacement. So this begins that systematic replacement of our equipment. So you'll see in here that in here is proposed to kind of catch up on some of our deferred refuge trucks and recycle trucks. This begins to lay it out. So systematically, you're taking care of your buildings, you're taking care of your vehicles and your equipment, and then of course continuing capital improvement projects through the city. So this is what it looks like in numbers. It is $80.2 million. The largest piece of this is the capital improvement projects, the projects in that plan. And then you can see the maintenance and the asset replacement. Next, we have the state accommodations tax fund. So in this fund, our estimate for state aid tax is $6.4 million. This fund does also have some fund balance, and so we're requesting to approve that fund balance to make the revenues between those two $8.4 million. Now, state code does dictate a lot of how this is spent. So the first portion is 30% allocation does go to the chamber for tourism activities. What's left this year, we put based on history, we kind of set up a plan on how we would use the balance. Historically, 43% of that money has gone to operations. So in a jurisdiction that brings in this amount of money, you certainly can use it to support staff that support tourism, police, fire, public works, and other items. So that's 43%, and that's just purely based on history. And then the transfer to the capital fund. So these are the capital projects, like the beach renourishment, things that help with the tourism. And then that $2 million fund balance, since it is one-time money, we are asking that it be used for a one-time item, and one of them is in fiscal year 27. You will be receiving the engine for Fire Station 7. The remainder of this goes back to the chamber and other outside agencies, again, for tourism-related items, and that's the plan for the state accommodations tax. Debt service. So the debt service fund is where we pay our annual debt payments. In here are the continuation, the annual payment for 2 items. One of them is the borrowing for the expansion of the park and sports complex. That is in here being made principal and interest. The other is for the municipal improvement district for Cherry Grove dredging. That is a special assessment. It does come in. So both of those payments are proposed to be paid in this fund. This fund does incorporate the proposed debt service payment for 2 additional borrowings. One of them is $18 million for an expansion and renovation to the Aquatic and Fitness Center, and the other is $5.43 million to try to catch up on some deferred asset replacement. It would be 5 refuse trucks, 2 recycled trucks, a street sweeper, and the motor grader. And that'll help catch up on those items and take some of the pressure off our maintenance office. The Water and Sewer Utility Fund is still a standalone utility fund that is to operate as a business and be self-supported. So it is proposed to decrease 26.5%, and the big decrease is in capital projects under the expenses. You'll see that instead of going ahead and budgeting for all of them, we limited it to the ones we think will actually be worked on in this fiscal year. So that's the only change in there on the expense side. Now, what this fund does have to cover is there is an increase from the Grand Strand Water and Sewer Authority, and you can see that the rates are increasing for 27 by 12.2% for water and 15.8% for sewer. To make sure that we can cover those costs, there is a proposed increase for the city's rates so that will generate enough to cover the cost. So really wanted to dig into, here's what the proposed rates look like. What does that mean for a homeowner? So I went over to utility billing, asked them to pull a bill. They just pulled a bill. I used that to calculate what it was. Their bill in March was $58.80 based on their usage. With this proposed rate, the same homeowner, I called them typical, would pay $65.22. So that would be, for this case, a $6.42 increase. Again, not only do we pass it along, but we also have to pay our own water bills. So this schedule is proposed to be sufficient to cover all the cost for the increase from Grand Strand Water and Sewer Authority. So I kind of talked really high level about these funds, but incorporated in there are some other increases. We do have the landfill is charging us more. They've increased tipping fees, $1.50. And so to make sure, again, that we can cover the cost, there is tipping fees included. All of this detail on all these fees are included in the back of the budget document in the ordinance. It spells out every fee. So if given a millage increase, given these other increases, there is a stormwater increase. It hasn't been increased since 2016, but yet our cost to do the projects and the number of projects are increasing. We want it to say, we always keep it in mind, what does this impact mean to our taxpayers? We always want to look at that. So when you look at this, the utility billing for that same bill that got pulled randomly for me, you add the stormwater increase of $2, the residential waste increase of $2, and the fee increase for water and sewer. Your monthly increase for this particular utility bill would be $10.42. And then when you look at a $5 mil increase and what that means, so on a house that the county has the appraisal set at $500,000, but it's a 4% owner occupied house, the assessed value is $20,000. So at 45 mils, they would pay, their tax bill to the city would be $900. What we have here is at that same $500,000 appraised value at 4% back to that 20,000 assessment ratio. 50 mils, it's $1,000. So that is an additional $100. It is 11% increase, and that does make a monthly increase of $8.33. So I wanted to always keep that in mind.
So even with those increases and these adjustments, you can see their total monthly utility costs and overall household tax burden remains highly competitive if you compare it to some of our coastal peers. So this just kind of breaks down, after we have all these increases, how it compares to Hilton Head and Myrtle Beach. We're still solid waste fees, still well below both communities. Stormwater fees still below both communities. The average water bill on par with the other, a little bit lower than Hilton Head, a little bit higher than Myrtle Beach, but average sewer bill, we are lower than both of those communities. So given the total monthly utility costs on average per household, we are lower than both of these other communities. Now, the thing that they have that we don't have is that both these communities have a 1% additional sales tax on their households, some sort of vehicle to bring down their property taxes. So you can look at Hilton Head. They have a much lower millage than we do, but a mill is worth a whole lot more in Hilton Head than it is here, and that's due to the value of the property there. Myrtle Beach is a little less than ours. They have a higher millage rate, but all in all, if you add up what they're paying in property taxes based on the millage rate, if you add up what they're paying in additional 1% additional sales tax, you're paying 1% on everything you're going out there purchasing on the day-to-day, it adds up. And when you put it all together, our total monthly cost per average residential household is below both of those communities. Wrong way. So, key takeaways. This budget is completely committed to the quality of life for our residents and our staff. So we do that through a number of ways. Competitive compensation. We're a service organization, and that is our function, is to provide services to our residents and our visitors when they're here. And that means that the majority of our expenses are through staff salaries. So there is no doubt that our employees are our number one most valuable asset when trying to complete our job. So this budget has a 4% compensation increase and a 16% increase in the city's contribution to their health insurance. Major facility expansions. This budget includes and prioritizes the expansion of the AFC. This has been something that's been discussed for a long time. This budget makes that project a reality. Sustainable growth. The city is growing, and this ensures that the impact fees that we collect on all the development, they are going to go specifically to the activity in which they are collected for. I'm going to make a point to make sure that's transparent, and it's going to deal with the growth, not operations. Future operational efficiencies. This is the first step. We want to get this as the baseline, try and get the revenues that fund certain activities throughout this organization. We want to get it right, so again, that we're more resilient. And that has been a huge underhaul. You heard our CPA firm before, kind of that's just 24. We're going to go and do 25. We're trying to change the way we do things. We're making this budget more transparent and easier for the public to look at. But at the end of the day, there are a ton of things that this city does operationally that could be done more efficiently. I'll be the first one to acknowledge that. But this is a very large organization, and I have to put my focus on the things that are the most pressing, and that to me was getting our finances straight. So we've spent a good deal of our time doing that, but the next year after this is going to go find operational efficiencies that we can do it, again, more efficiently, cheaper, and maybe decrease our overall expenses through doing things more efficiently. So that's going to be the focus for the next year, and hopefully that makes a significant difference. Resource alignment, a fresh perspective from new management and staff, again, is being used to reevaluate how we do things. So we're going to take a look at how we operate, and it might not necessarily be the most effective way to do it. So we're going to look at everything. And finally, long-term planning. We are going to look at things more strategically. We have just kind of done everything pay-as-you-go when it comes to equipment, and that's great if you can keep up with it, but it's very, very expensive. We have a lot of equipment, and if you don't keep up with it, that's where the problem lies. So we want to be more strategic about what we're doing, and that's in terms of the projects that we take on, the equipment that we have, make sure that it's being used to the full lifespan, but also getting rid of it before it's worthless, and making sure that we always have working, operating equipment for our employees, instead of waiting until they ultimately fail, and then we're acting reactively. So that is the 2027 budget, and I want to thank council, I want to thank the mayor, everyone for being so involved in this process. I want to thank staff, department heads, for being willing to have numerous back and forth conversations about this, because this was not an easy process. I can promise you that as much as in this document, there was a whole lot more that didn't make it, and that's because we're trying to be lean. We're trying to figure out where we're at and what's the best way to move forward. So this is our effort to kind of recreate that baseline and be more efficient and transparent moving forward. So with that, I'm going to open the floor to council if you've got questions, or whenever you want to open it to the public. It's up to you.
Okay, do y'all have anybody on council have any comments or questions, or do you want to open up to the public first, or we want to go ahead and, y'all got anything you want to say?
Yeah, I want to just, on behalf of everybody up here, thank staff, Ryan, Darcy, and Ann. We've sort of worn them out on questions and calls in the last last couple months, really. And this took something that was, it's still complicated, but it's simplified a whole lot, and it's a lot easier to read. And, kind of the deeper you get into it, the easier it is to understand where things are going. And it's just primarily complicated because revenue comes from so many different sources, and it has so many strings or tentacles attached to it that we're limited on what we can do. But I do want to thank all your time and your patience with us, especially probably this last week or so.
Get up close.
That was it. I don't
All
know
right.
if you heard me or not.
I heard
now.
you. I heard you.
You get
Appreciate it.
staff gets an attaboy.
I'd like to kind of repeat what Fred said, because in the key of transparency, when we got the packet and started really digging into it and seeing where we have created different line items, it brought a lot of questions and it brought a lot of meetings. And I want to thank everybody in all the different departments and Marcy for the time that we spent and you took out of y'all's already busy schedule to help us understand in better, depth of what we were looking at. So I do want to thank y'all as well.
Yeah, I reiterate that. I know we've all spent a lot of time on this, and it was difficult to go from, the way the budget was done in the past to a totally new budget in a totally different way. Took a lot more time and a lot more understanding, and y'all took the time to teach us, and I know we ask a lot, and it took a while, but to show us. And I do know that while we're looking at a small millage increase, everything's going up, and that's going up on the city too, to make us operate. I don't want to do it, especially with everything going up, but we have to take care, not only provide our police with the resources they need, but pay our employees, or we will lose them. We have to, so we have to take the heat. I mean, you look at gas going up, you look at groceries going up, you look at restaurants going up, everywhere you go, price going up. So this is the last thing I want to do is, so we did get as tight as I believe we could possibly get on this budget, and keep a small increase. And we did not like the fact that our water and the sewer is going up at the same time. And I met with Grand Strand Water and Sewer several times, but they have a thing there that's an environmental thing. It's going to cost them, it's called PFAS, that was done by the environmentalists, and the Biden administration is going to cost them over $200 million to upgrade their system. They have 3 years to do it, and to meet the federal requirement. And so you know, they're going up tremendously on all of us. But anyway, anybody else on council got a comment?
I think that I can speak for all of us. We're very empathetic to it because we're all residents. We're going to have to pay it just like everybody else. One of the things, or actually two examples that I had was I did a ride along with the fire department over Memorial Day weekend, and we actually had to stop at the gas station to get gas. And I thought we'd go to some special place where public, service people get their gas. I didn't realize I'd pull up to Circle K with the fire truck, and I said, do we get gas for free? Do we have to pay for it? And they're like, no, we have to pay exactly what you have to pay. And we all know how much gas costs right now, and we're filling up a 65-gallon fire truck. The other incident was I rode along with the garbage truck picking up garbage. Our truck broke down while I was on the truck. I think that was probably set up that way so I could probably feel sorry for them, but not sure or not. But I had to wait for them to come and get us another truck. And we looked down and we've been dragging oil all the way down. So that required another truck to come and help. And I visited the fleet maintenance where they maintenance the truck, and we're putting stuff together with duct tape. I mean, that's not what we need to do. And so not wanting to have to increase this, there's some things that we have to do, and we don't like it either. I mean, we're having to pay the same thing you guys have to pay. So, just looking at this, diving deep into it, we have asked Ryan and Ann and Mark every single question you guys could possibly think of. Phones ring late at night, dragging Jay out constantly, asking questions, especially for me and Jerry, who've not been privy to any past budgets. So please don't think that we've taken this with a grain of salt. We have really, really dug deep for you guys.
Yes, and I'll agree, and I'll reiterate that as well. I was driving along Highway 17 behind one of our maintenance trucks in the rain. And I look up and I went, is that our truck? And it was, with our city seal on it. And it was covered, the back glass was covered with plastic with duct tape holding it on. So, I mean, those are not things that, we want our employees riding in, They do a great job for us. They work really, really hard, and they deserve to be taken care of. And a lot of this is going to take care of them. They take care of us, they protect us, they keep us safe, and we want to make sure we keep that quality of life for all of our residents. And we did not take this lightly. This has been very, very hard for us, and we just want to make sure everybody knows that.
I guess last comment, just on this budget that we have right here, I'll caution you to be just a little bit careful. If you try to compare it and read the numbers, they're skewed. On our 27, it's fine, but trying to compare it with 26 because of the way that things have been recategorized, and I mean, it's completely different. So when you look at some of these things, you compare last year to this year, you might question, how can that possibly be? Most of the time, it's reallocating potentially employees in a different category, or that's what it is. But when we get our 24 and we finish the 25, which will be just in just a few months, then you'll be able to have a really good, we will too have a very good true comparison that because you won't be able to cipher this, I don't think, without causing alarm. So I just put that as a caution. Also, another thing is, in the last 18 months, of course, all of you live here, you see the growth that's going on. It's absolutely incredible. It's just explosion. In the last 18 months, we've issued 1,500 COs. The number of active building permits right now are 1,744. So we're subject to have another 1,700 residents in another 12, 18 months. And then on top of that, which will be probably the end of the growth, a major growth for North Myrtle Beach, we have what they call an entitled additional 3,000 units that can be built going forward. And that doesn't include the 1,744 that are active permits. So we have a tremendous amount of growth, and our staff and our budget, we just have to keep up, and it just costs more. And believe me, I don't want to raise taxes, but I've been through this thing with this council as well as staff, and I commend them for the dramatic changes that have taken place and the way they've handled it, and they've brought this forward. And my hat goes off to all of you for what you've done. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will just reiterate that council, they've tried every which way to try and not raise taxes. I will defend them on that, and they've beat us up pretty good. And it is just what has to be done to take ourselves off of the reliance of these economic, these tourism-driven revenue sources that are, subject to certain variables that are completely out of our control. So this is really an effort to get it so it's more streamlined, put and focused on providing those services with revenues that are more stable, so that residents that live here, they don't have to worry about anything hindering our ability to provide services, at least in the short term. We can weather the storm figuratively and literally, for a period of time before we have to start cutting services if it gets to that point. But so yeah, I want to just make sure that I acknowledge so everyone understands that this is something that really had to pull you guys kicking and screaming, and you tried every which way to find a way. It's just, there is no simple solution other than we got to get off of it. We got to get off of having a tax and hospitality tax paying for services.
Okay, are there any comments from the public regarding the budget? Come forward, give your name and address. We have a 3-minute time limit.
Okay. I'm Rick Rush. I live in Barefoot in the neighborhood of Tuscan Sands. And let me just say, it was a very good presentation, and I understand the need for raising the fees and everything else. But one thing that struck me up there is that Barefoot is the largest neighborhood in the city of North Myrtle Beach, and they have the largest stormwater drainage problem in all of North Myrtle Beach. And the money that's collected only seems to benefit the people who are east of 17. And I've been tracking the money, and I've been tracking the problem since 2019, and that problem isn't getting any better, it's getting worse. I realize that the city and the mayor have had meetings with individuals. I was an organizer when I worked, and I realize they're necessary, but I don't think these individual meetings solve anything. I think they contribute to the problem because this person has an opinion and this person has a different opinion. And we really need to address this problem. I see we're going to collect $2 more, and it's only $24 a year, but I have to state my concern that we need help, and we've been asking for it for 7 years now. And I've been told by the city two different conflicting stories. One is that outfall number 2 is a public easement, and we could put as much water and do with it as we please. The other one is that it's privately owned. Well, it can't be both. It has to be one or the other, and these are things that need to be addressed, and they need to be solved. And we're hoping that maybe the city council can get together, or we can organize a meeting with all of the parties involved and finally put this to rest and maybe get some help or find out what we have to do. Dara has been working with engineers, and Jay, I know you've been working with Tom Statz, but I want to go on record as saying Tom Statz is not in charge of anything. Nobody put him in charge. He wasn't even part of the lawsuit. And his engineer, Mike Wooten, we had all the engineers at the outfall one day for about a 6-hour meeting. He was there, but he did not participate. And he is part of the cause of the original problem in designing Barefoot. So, we would appreciate it if maybe we could get a little consideration here and maybe get this problem addressed and put to bed and get it done with. It's been 7 years. And I thank you all for your time.
Thank you, too. And I'm glad to meet anytime you want. I'm trying to do the best I can to help. That's all I know.
I understand that, Jay, but see, again, meeting with me is, I'm an individual and I
I
have an
know,
opinion.
but so let's organize a big meeting.
Conflict with Dara's or somebody else's.
Yeah, sure.
I
We'll
just don't
organize
think
a
it does
meeting
anything.
with a bunch of us. Well, whoever you want. I'll be glad to be there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, too.
Hi, I'm Dana Brown. I live at 2314 Vera Way in Longs. Couple things. I'm glad we finally have a new outside audit firm. I've got a very modest corporate audit background myself. 40 years is too long. I also, at this time, oppose the 5% millage being proposed for a couple of reasons. Before, in my opinion, we raise any taxes, I would like to see a forensic audit, very much different than our annual audit that our other auditors just talked about. And the reason is we've had a lot of vacancies, a lot of turnover in finance and in the city manager's office, and a lot has fallen through the cracks, it sounds like. We don't know what we don't know. And we need to be able to trust you that you're going to, take care of our funds. It sounded like she was talking about we're going to have to do a write-down. How much was overstated for 2024? Is that like a charge-off? Can we pay the delta of that write-down by salary lapse, maybe, from vacancies that we've been having in finance? Did anybody meet with the bond rating agencies for 24, 25, and 26? Moody's, Fitch, S&P, and has our new audit firm met with them? I also don't think a 4% COLA, even though I love our employees, is appropriate. The federal government for FY26 gave, I think it was 2%. Next year for FY27, the president is proposing 0. So real quick, about an audit, there's a difference between an annual audit and forensic audit. And as our audit firm stated, an annual audit is only based on the information provided, that what we give them. It's not a real deep dive like a forensic audit. An annual audit essentially provides assurance that the balances reported on the financial statements are materially correct. A common misconception is that audits verify 100% of the balances in the transactions with the financial statements. This is not actually true, as audits only consider material balances, and generally audits only look at a sample. Another misconception is that audits are geared to detect and prevent fraud. This way of thinking is also not correct. According to the certified fraud examiners, the ACFE, annual audits typically only detect about 4% of fraud. This doesn't mean that our annual audit is not worthwhile. It is, and it does serve a valuable purpose, just different purpose than is usually considered. Annual audits assure lenders and investors, Standard & Poor's, Moody's, the rating agencies, of our financial position. To put it another way, an annual audit's like going to your primary doctor on a regular basis for a checkup. A forensic audit is akin to getting a specialized test, seeing a specialist, maybe like getting a CT scan. So, and the last thing is I do appreciate that they're, giving an example of what the cost could be. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Ron, do you want to address?
Yeah,
It's a lot.
I wouldn't mind at
but
all.
we can-
It's clear that she's my biggest fan. I could see that. It's first off, the vacancies that we have in finance. When I took over this job almost 2 years ago, we had 2 employees basically in finance, both who had been one for 45 years, one for about 20, and they are no longer with us. And there are reasons for that. It's been a huge challenge trying to piece this thing together with consultants who I don't know what we would do if we didn't have them. Some lower level clerks who were never used, who we've now put them in a position to extra contribute, and they've proven to be excellent employees and capable of so much. So I'm grateful for them. We've slowly started to add personnel, and we have a new finance director who's going to start first week in July. So we're making progress. In addition to, we just had FY24 audit presentation from our new CPA firm. Again, first CPA firm that's looked at it with fresh eyes in 45 years. You say that it's about time. I would say every 5 years is about time. So we're doing all the right things, and I disagree with your opinion that we need a forensic audit. There's been nothing. We've had two very capable people with financial expertise who've been on staff with us for a very long time now. One who's the former chief financial officer of the town of Mount Pleasant, and Ann Hardy, who is the chief financial officer for the town or city of Rock Hill for the last 6 months. Both have looked through everything we're doing. Both who have been very involved and looked at all of our finances, and they have found nothing nefarious, just sloppiness. There's nothing that would indicate that there's something shady going on that we would need a forensic audit, because what Mrs. Brown fails to realize in all her expertise is that a forensic audit is not like we just go, hey, let's look at this stuff. It is painstaking, looking through every single transaction, trying to find patterns and things that we're missing. And I don't know why we would subject the city to such an enormous expense unless there was some reason to believe that there was something shady going on, and we just don't have it. We've had the CPA's firm look at it. We've had, again, our consultants look at it. There's been no indication that there's anything going on. If there were, in the least, 100%, I would be all about it. But just to say it because in your very limited ability to know what's going on, that in your opinion we should be doing it, that's not a reason to go do a forensic audit. And my last comment is 4% employment, 4% cost of living adjustment for our employees. Social Security office has already come out and said that they are expecting a 3.9 to 4.2% increase to Social Security, like they do every year. It's based on the cost of living, and they adjust it so that those who live on a fixed income, at least the money that they have, can buy the same amount of products and services that it did the year before. So to put 4% for our employees who, again, we're not adding a lot of staff. We're adding 4 employees to our 554. And as Councilman Thomas just alluded to, we've added 1,700 COs in the last 18 months, yet we're not adding any more staff. So what we're saying is that we're going to have our staff do the same job that we've asked of them the previous 12 months, but over the next 12 months, we're only adding 4, but we're also adding you to provide those same services to 1,700 new households without giving you any help. So we're going to ask them to do more work, to be more efficient, and do more with less, and then not pay them at least for the cost of living adjustment, so that the money that we give them in their paychecks buys them the same amount of goods and services this next year as it does the previous year. So I'm offended by that comment, but I'm glad that you gave me the ability to respond.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. Excuse me. Bob Hutton, 5208 Windy Pines Drive in Barefoot. 2 questions. One, for the 24 audit, I believe there was a comment of $4.4 million of obligations, other than the unfunded items. The city has what level of long-term debt today? Didn't you issue $26 million of bonds for the park expansion?
Correct. We issued a general obligation bond last year, $27 million to fund the expansion of the sports park. And I mean, after you add interest and all the things that we will incur over the next 9 years paying it back, yeah, I'd say about 33 million of that is for the sports park. The other 3 is for the dredging in the Cherry Grove area. So those are specific to that municipal improvement district.
So
that's
our
currently
debt.
where we're at right now, yes.
Right. There was one piece in that slide that showed, in one of the slides, it showed $18.47 or something like that in the upper right-hand corner.
Sure.
What was that related to?
So that is that's us trying to put into dollars what between
Going back to the typical
back
water
to what
and sewerage.
Correct, because we have Grand Strand Water and Sewers raising the rates on us. We just have to
Yeah,
pass that
okay.
on because we can't eat that and then lose money. The Solid Waste Authority is increasing their tipping fees, so we have to pass that on in terms of our sanitation fee. And then the stormwater fee, which has historically been $8. We are proposing to raise that to $10. Hasn't been raised since, I think, 2016. And then the other part is basically we used a $500,000 home to kind of represent.
So that is the all-in.
Right, so it's $100 a year if you have a $500,000 home, and this is your primary residence, 4% property. So all in all that stuff together, it'll cost about $18.75 per month to your average resident. So for me, that's like my 3 daughters going to Starbucks and getting lattes, which they do often. Just like one less Starbucks trip.
Right. One other, so I lied when I said I had 2 questions. I have 3. Being new to South Carolina, do you guys play with the term ratables? of what the ratables are, of the value of assets here, taxable assets sitting, because I've come from a community that we don't have unincorporated areas. A town is a town, and what is there, and the increase in a tax rate is basically the increase, as opposed to, we talk about that 1,700 more homes, that increases.
Well, that's just the amount of properties that have come online. So 1,700 COs, that means 100, I'm assuming it was single-family homes?
The COs were 15-something, and
Okay.
what's permitted this time is 1744.
Right,
Which will
okay.
be coming online in another.
That was just indicative of how many new homes we have.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Or any other comments by the public? Yes, sir.
Hi, Chris Minahan, I'm barefoot as well. I'd like to start by saying I agree with everything that Rick just said regarding all our outfalls and the issues we have, but I'll address my comments more to what I heard tonight. First off, is all this available public now? All the budget information we got tonight is public? This is all out public, okay, good. I've been remiss, I haven't looked at it. I'll look at it when I get home. My question tonight, I heard that we just finished an audit of 24. What was the auditor doing for the last 2 years?
So this is complex, but they are new. So I mean, I don't
No,
want to
no, the old order. The order we were paying before,
So
what have they been doing, the fact that we're doing a 24 audit now?
Maybe I can answer that.
you wanna take
The,
that one? Go for it.
the folks that we had before, even the auditor before, that was a staff that had been in place for years and years and years, so they were all, they weren't colluding, but they were working together. And now when that transition changed 2 years ago, then we found out we needed, and all that worked, and our reserves were always where they were supposed to be. Our biggest thing was we wanted to make sure that we had our 35% reserve. But now we've got a new team on board, and it's taken them a solid year to, and then the new auditors and the new accountants said, you know, the way that your old group, not throwing them under the bus, because they did perform well, and we maintained our financial integrity and had a super bond rating. But now the new group says the way it's formulated, the way they wrote their columns and the way they categorize things were not up to 2025 or 2024. So it's been completely reorganized, and it's taken them almost a year to cipher through, put it all together. And fortunately, we heard a while ago, we are still maintaining, in fact, we're better than the 35%. We're 36 point some odd percent in our reserve. So that's what that was the bottleneck. You have just a total transition and a total reformulation of our finances. And it's been an adjustment for those folks as well as an adjustment for us to
I can imagine.
make sure we understand it.
Yeah, first of my background, I'm a 40-year finance guy out of New York, Marsh McLennan. So I did 660 locations globally, and we had a budget every year, we had an audit every year, and we had pretty good books around that. And I'm astounded by what's going on with the financials that I heard tonight, as far as not being able to restate the prior year to compare to the new year. It's too confusing for us to understand it. It's not too confusing for people to understand it in this town. There
So-
are some smart people in the town that can understand your numbers.
Yeah, but you won't.
Okay, that's
Well,
all
take
fine.
a look at it and you'll see what I'm talking
I'm not
about.
I want to go back and look at the numbers.
Yeah, so I mean,
Okay.
and I think what Councilman Thomas is trying to say, it's not that it was too complex, it's that we fundamentally changed the way we're reporting it. We consolidated our funds. We used to have 5 different enterprise funds, which weren't true enterprise funds. So we got rid of a lot of those, put them into the general fund. But the way that we're reporting it, it's very different than the way it was reported the previous year. So it took our auditors time to get it to where it was apples to apples. So from the last reporting to this, it is kind of hard to say apples to apples. But again, so it does get confusing, but it's not because it's so complex that like our residents can't comprehend it.
I just heard the confusing comment, and
Yeah.
I took exception to that one. You took exception to the other one before.
Yeah, I got you.
Just 2 more quick things. When we looked at our budget for this year, when you looked at 554 people,
554, yeah.
554 plus 4.
Yep.
Did we start that as a zero-based budget to look at all roles, to look
We-
at what's necessary?
We are
in the
definitely, this
town, or-
isn't, I mean, ultimately, that's where we got to. I could tell you that we had, based on all of our requests for new positions, I mean, it was millions of dollars in requests for new positions. And we ultimately added 4. So we really, this year, and I think staff will back me on this if you ask them, I mean, we really put the screws to them in terms of if you don't need it, if it's not 100% absolutely necessary to do your job, then we're going to try and get by with what we can get by with. So those 4 positions, our department heads said, these are the positions I absolutely 100% need. I have to trust my department heads that they know what they're talking better than I do. And again, like I alluded to earlier, that many houses, those many properties coming online, having to provide those services to those properties, and only adding 4 positions, I mean, I think that should prove that we are trying to be as lean as possible.
Two more quick ones. Sure. Have we looked at, when we're bringing in developments, like all the stuff going on Water Tower Road now, to ask these builders to contribute to the roads when they're moving in, as opposed to making it happen 3 years later, when you block up all the roads, when all the houses are in, and have the homeowners pay for it in the taxes? Can we get the builders to contribute to that on the front end? I was told the last time I came and spoke about that was that there was some law in South Carolina that says you're not allowed to ask for that from the builders. The builders are making all the profit out of all this on the front end. And then the homeowners pay all the taxes on the back end to get the roads improved. They should have to pay to improve those roads. All those things going on Water Tower Road right now that are contributing to our drainage problem, all those new buildings, the big ones back there, you're going to have to widen that to 4 lanes at some point in time with all those houses back there. But you're going to do it when all the houses are in. Why can't they contribute to it when they're gaining access to our town?
So I would say is I would love to talk to you offline. I mean,
I'd love
they
to.
do. I mean, developers do pay enhancement fees for certain things. The impact it has on public safety.
Okay.
The impact, all those things. But I think what you're talking about is even bigger. Like you're talking about highways and larger tributaries coming into the road. Like they
Talking
affect a lot of things.
4-lane
that-
roads on Water Tower.
Yeah,
even.
no, I agree. So, yeah, if you
Rumor
wouldn't
has
mind,
it there's 17,000 homes going in there at some point in time.
yeah, but
How are they going to get there? Come through barefoot and get there?
I'd be happy to talk to you offline if
Love
if
to.
you're open to it.
Love
Okay.
to, love to.
All right.
And
Like-
where did our $14 million go for water and sewer from last year to this year? I
I
saw
get-
$14
that's-
million drop off. I know it's a region.
It's like, well, I mean, it's, at the end of the day, it's less projects. I mean, we had a lot of projects last year that were funded by RIA. They were basically COVID money that was passed down, came to us through the states. They threw money at everybody, and it was capped at $10 million per municipality, but we use that to do some water line infrastructure improvements, which you will see around Windy Hill. But we don't have those funds this year, so we don't have them to spend. So that's why it's not as much as it was last year.
Thank you.
Good evening. How's everybody doing?
Good, how are you?
All
Please
right,
give your name and address.
I am Deborah Gonzalez, and I live at 1580 Little Leaf Loop, right here in the new Del Webb community. It's my 7th house in North Myrtle Beach, and I'm a proud resident. I've got a quick question for you. The increase in property tax, would that apply just to permanent residents, or is that across the board to anyone who owns property in the city?
So I mean, that's property in general. So the 4%, it'll apply to the 4%ers just as much as it applies to a 6%er. The only difference is then that example we showed with a $500,000 home, it's $100. With a 6% property, correct me, Marcia Armand, I think it would be $150 because they are basically 6% assessment on secondary homes. It's about 50% higher than what it is if you're a 4%er. So.
Okay, so.
But it applies to, definitely applies to them.
So anyone who owns rental homes, they will also be subject to that increase as well, right?
Correct, and they'll ultimately end up paying more.
So I'm a simple kind of person. I was a public servant. I worked in federal prisons for a living and proudly retired from that. And I rarely saw more than a 4% increase in my annuity, but I made it work, just like we have to make it work now. You know, what your employees are going to pay, we're all paying too. Some of us are, you know, living within our means, et cetera. And this isn't a lecture, it's just a matter of fact. But for me, this is my opinion. This is how I feel as a resident. I don't understand why we can't lean into tourism money to help pay some of these bills. I don't frequent the sports complex. When I think about that, I think it's a great adventure or venture, especially when you're trying to attract people to come into our city. But for me personally, I don't benefit from the sports complex. I don't benefit from rental properties. I don't own any rental properties. And I like Lulu's. I like it when businesses thrive, but I don't benefit from that either. I'm just a regular tax-paying citizen. So I don't understand why we can't rely. Tourism is our #1 industry here, and I think it should be the #1 resource to help balance our bills for the city employees, to give them 4%, maybe 5% increase if we play our cards right. That's how I feel about it. I'm a regular frequent flyer at Possum Trot. I play a lot of pickleball. We're building pickleball courts over there. They do fundraiser after fundraiser. It's being funded by the city. And here's the reality of it. I stand in line and the people in front of me are from Little River and Calabash. They don't even live in the city limits. I pay $1 to get in there. They pay $2 to get in there. That to me is like not responsible. They're utilizing our buildings, our services, and I don't want to segregate because I don't like to segregate. But there should be some kind of deal worked out that if you're coming into North Myrtle Beach, like a tourist, that you're going to pay. Why should I'm paying property tax. I'm going to be subject to the increase. And I think it should feel different for me than it does for someone who does not live in the city. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Gotcha. And so just to make it clear, so we do rely on hospitality accommodations tax to pay for our ongoing operations. But what's happened over time is, over the last 5-9 years, the city's grown. Like everything else in this world, everything's more expensive. So the prudent thing to do would have been to slowly raise the millage rate just to increase the revenue, so we have the revenue and resources available to keep up with that growth. But what happened was, instead of raising the millage rate, it was easier to just say, hey, we'll just take a little bit more of hospitality and accommodations tax to fill that gap.
Right.
And that would happen every year. So over time, you get out of whack to where you have a very large number of hospitality and accommodation tax providing the services, and that's not what we want, because then we have a downturn in the economy for whatever reason. And you could think of probably hundreds of reasons why the economy might take a downturn. We don't want that to be what then affects our ability to provide services. So we're always going to have to rely on those tax, hospitality tax to a certain degree, because, like I said before, we're just a city of 23,000 people, but we have an organization to provide for 100,000, because that is truly what our population is, Memorial Day to Labor Day. But we don't want to, if the economy goes down, we don't want to be able to not provide those services. So we want to have those services backed and funded by stable sources of income and revenue, like a property tax. Property tax is what it is. It's based on the value of property. We don't have to worry about the economy coming in and affecting that. We can budget and we can rely on those things. Same with business license fees. So all we're trying to do is just decrease that amount of accommodation and hospitality tax that is funding services, and use mostly those accommodations and hospitality revenue to support equipment or capital projects or replacing assets or equipment, so that if we do have a downturn in the economy, our first line of defense is to say, we're just not going to pave as much road this year, or we just won't do that project, or we just won't buy that garbage truck, instead of saying we have to go and decline the services that we're providing to the people that live here. That's the thing I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And
And just to comment on what you're saying, and I'll go sit in my
Yeah.
seat. I mean, I was your neighbor. I lived right next door to you. You didn't even know that,
I
did
did
you?
know that.
Okay, I don't live next door to you anymore, which is a lovely neighborhood, by the way. Here's what doesn't make sense to me. We have an aquatic center that's in debt, and we're expanding it. Okay, so that, you know what, maybe no reflection on the new regime here, and we have to give you a chance. But that doesn't make sense to me as a taxpayer.
And if that were true, it wouldn't make sense, but it's not in debt whatsoever. We've paid it off. We don't owe anything on the AFC. And the miscommunication, the information that's being spread out there, is that somehow our tax dollars are going to go to fund the Aquatic and Fitness Center, or fund the paying back of the loan that we're going to take to fund the expansion of the Aquatic and Fitness Center, and that's 100% flat out wrong. Not $1 of property tax is going to go fund
Okay,
aquatic
I
and fitness.
believe you, let's say that's true, but why did we need to expand it? If we're having difficulty, we have to duct tape a truck, why didn't we need to expand our aquatic center?
So they're funded by
It's a wonderful facility already.
completely funded by completely different streams of revenue, and the Aquatic and Fitness Center is supported through memberships, membership dues and fees that they pay, and then it's supported, and the debt that we take on to expand it will be supported by and paid for with only local accommodations tax. That is it. So it's the only, that is
Is that
it.
the same for the pickleball courts too?
No, I don't believe that is the same. Is that, I'd have to go back and look.
Here's the reality, they're gonna be taken over by non-residents. I already know that. I live in that world, so I hope we pay attention.
And I can't
to-
answer, I mean, Matt can answer that. I don't
Yeah,
know
I mean,
if
it don't matter now.
non-residents pay
Hopefully the
more,
city will
or
adopt some good
I don't know
rules
what
in
it costs
running
to,
'em, right? Because I mean, I want to play on them. That's what I'm paying taxes.
I hear you.
Jolene Puffer, 3506 Turner Avenue. You are predicting an 18% decrease in memberships or in profit at the aquatic center, is that correct?
We are not. AFC has got the highest membership rate it's ever had in the history of the facility.
In your budget, and you're raising the fees, $72. So
We are.
I'm just telling you what the budget reads.
I know exactly what it says, and I can give you an answer, and it's not probably a great answer, but it is an answer. So one other issue with this budget, and again, only goes to the former management and finance prior to me. I can't tell you why they did what they did, but you've got a lot of things that were budgeted, and this is on the expense and the revenue side, that didn't make sense. So for years, for whatever reason, the finance department would budget, $2.3 million or whatever it was for revenue generated from membership fees at the AFC, when in reality it was never higher than 1.6, 1.7. So that doesn't make sense. You would think if you had 5 years at show, it's never been more than 1.6, 1.7, that's the number you would budget. But for whatever reason, they decided we're going to budget 2.1 or 2.3, whatever it is. This is the year where we're saying, hey, if we're going to budget, we're going to use actual real numbers, because this is no good to use fake numbers. So the number we put in this year, it's $400,000 less than what was budgeted last year, but that's because the fake voodoo numbers were used last year, and this year it's real numbers. So it looks like that we're going to take in $400,000 less if you look at our budgets, but budgets aren't real numbers. They're what is projected to be that number. The projected number last year, based on the person putting together the finance, the budget for that, they said this is what it's going to be. This year, I know a whole lot more than I did before. I'm going to say we're going to use real numbers, and it was never even close to that. So let's use the number that's, so it looks like we're taking in $400,000 less, but it's just, we just changed the number that's budgeted, so it's real. That's it. So we're not actually taking in less money. We're just projecting a number that's accurate as opposed to not accurate.
And that would be a great reason for a forensic audit, because you're saying that we have voodoo numbers and now you have real numbers. So you're in conflict with what you just said about a forensic audit, that there would be no reason for it. I think the greatest reason is we had a change of regime, 24 years of a past person here. And anytime you buy a company, anytime you're the new management, you go in and you do a forensic audit, you make sure you're signing up for exactly what's in the books. And what we're hearing is two different things, but that's not why I'm here. I hope my 3 minutes isn't getting taken, because I wanted to say, this plan raises our property taxes rate from 45 to 50. On the capital side, it draws down more than 12 million on our fund balance, which is our savings, and it does this in a year the Chamber of Commerce is forecasting a roughly 3% decline in tourism, when citywide accommodation tax collections have already fallen 11%, when this very budget projects parking revenue to drop. My question is simple. If it's the people's job for you guys to forecast our economy, predicting losses, why are we choosing this moment to raise taxes, spend down savings, and take on new debt all at once? I disagree that the Aquatic Center is not, it's not making the money you're saying, and what you're telling me is what I understand. We are not seeing real numbers, so why don't we see the real numbers before we spend money on an expansion so we all know where we're at? I think that's fair. It's our money that's doing that. Now on the 18 million, although it doesn't come out of our taxes, we are on the hook for it, correct? If something happens and we have committed to paying for it and that tax money doesn't come in, are we ultimately going to have to come up with the money?
Well, I mean, we're taking on debt, so yeah,
Yeah,
but there's.
so we are. So I mean, I hate when we do the shell game. The sports complex was the same story. We paid roughly $3.5 million every year in debt service on the expansion, on top of operating costs. We're still not even sure how to understand the numbers because they don't look like they're not including some of the overhead. You're adding new positions. We just like the numbers so we can understand what it is actually happening. And from what you said, those voodoo numbers need to be accurate. This is the same light year that you said that we weren't spending anything that wasn't necessary. Council's getting 2 positions for $160,000, and it doesn't indicate what these consultants are for. It's $80,000 each is what I assume.
Yeah, so they're not, so again, these are areas that weren't budgeted or they were budgeted in places that weren't appropriate. So they are, those 2 budget positions, they're not positions, they're consultants, basically they're our lobbyists. But they're lobbyists that we've had in place for years. Same exact
But
contract.
they just came onto the budget this year.
Well, they weren't budgeted under legislative, which is where they should have been. So I had that moved over to where it's appropriate, use the real number because that's what we're actually spending. Where it resided last year, I'd have to go do some homework, but there's a lot of things like that that would, they would get funded, but.
So we're doing 100,000 public arts, 100,000 facade, 100,000 grants. We're doubling our outside litigation expenses to 1.5 to accurately reflect what we've been spending. Is that what I
Correct.
understood?
We're not doubling it. We're just, for whatever reason, $750,000 we're
Why
budgeting.
isn't that enough for a forensic audit?
'Cause
You're
it's-
saying that we've been under
It's not,
budgeting.
that doesn't show anything other than they were sloppy. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why they could have done that. The first and the only reason wouldn't be that they're stealing money or that they're doing something nefarious.
Nobody's indicating anything
why
nefarious,
else
but
would you-
show us the books. We're not saying there's anything wrong, just show us the books. The only thing I want to say, because we had a little bit back and forth, I want to know what we're doing for emergency management. I don't hear anything like large generators, Starlink. I know the upstate of South Carolina experienced Helene in a different way, and they were unable to communicate. I know that we have Regroup and Code Red, but we don't necessarily have a way to communicate with people when they don't have power on their cell phones or they don't have internet, and that's our main way to communicate with one another. What I do see is that we have one single generator and some radios. So I'd really like to see that the budget reflects some of those things in the future. That's my biggest concern, because I think one Helene could change everything, including our $18 million
So
expansion.
I would love to talk to you offline about it, but we do have more than one generator. I can assure you of that.
But I don't see us staffing things like internet access, places to go, to go charge your station. I mean, if people are here during a category 1 or 2, which they will probably be, they may not have power. So is there going to be a central facility that our residents can go and charge their phones so that we can continue to communicate? Because that will be the main way.
And I think
we
that's
communicate.
an excellent idea. It's just that's just we have to prioritize what we spend money on. We're buying a $2 million fire apparatus. I mean, there's only so much money that can go around,
Right.
and but those are ideas that I think are great.
Well,
Love
and-
to talk to you about them.
And trash has not been audited, so I have a single-family residential, I have a short-term rental, I pay $80, I've only got 500 square feet.
Jolene, we have other people who'd like to
I
speak.
understand,
and
but I'm
we're-
just saying
we're
there's a
glad
lot
to
of
meet
things
with
that have-
you anytime, but we need to keep moving so other people can be able to speak as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, Randy Gardner, 626 Bay Street. I talk a lot about Old North Myrtle Beach, and you guys done a superb job of taking care of Old North Myrtle Beach. But there's one thing that the city manager said tonight during his wonderful briefing that kind of had me frustrated, because everything is going around that, is you have the bullet up here saying sustainable growth. I don't think we would have to be buying all these $2 million fire truck and all this other stuff if we weren't annexing all this property and stuff. A lot of you ran on stopping the growth. Haven't heard anything like that, but everything we hear about is we have to pay more to have more people come into the city, and it's those of us living in Old North Myrtle Beach are being the foot of the bill. So you throw the sustainable growth into that, and now we're taking on a little bit more of the tourist requirements that they need to have. So my question real quick here is, if we're paying more on property taxes, you're still going to have that tourism money coming in. What are you going to do with that surplus tourism money now that you're not using that you used in the budget in the past?
So I'm not following your question. What unused tourism money?
Okay, you had a chart showing how much we were using more and more of the
Correct.
tourist money, then you had 27 of that going down.
Correct. So
Okay.
that void will be filled by the millage increase, so that now the operations, the day-to-day operation of the city will be funded by a millage increase. Then we're going to take those funds that were historically going, at least in the last couple of years, more and more going towards funding operations. We're now going to put that towards the capital improvement. So projects, equipment, maintenance of our facilities. That way, that revenue is supporting things that if it goes down significantly one year for one reason or another, the only thing that gets cut is not the services to our community, but just not buying a garbage truck that year, or whatever it is that is required to not spend that money. That is kind of the end goal with what we're doing.
Right. I mean, I understand what you're coming from. You're asking us to cover ourselves and thing, but you're still going to have that amount of revenue coming in from the tourist.
Right, and that money is now being redirected to things that we need. Capital improvement.
That's I didn't see that in your presentation. That's what it's looking like. We're paying more and we're not.
So we're just changing the ratios of like what historically, ratio-wise, of those revenue sources are supporting different parts of what we do, and we're just trying to kind of wean off operations and put those dollars more towards paving our streets, improvements to the beach accesses and our sidewalks, buying equipment. We're buying 5 new garbage trucks this year because we haven't bought a new garbage truck in, 10, 15 years. Councilman Wilbur saying that they're breaking down when she goes, we don't want that. We want to be able to provide those services. So this is the year that we're going to try and catch up, and we're going to buy 5 garbage trucks because we have to.
For old North Myrtle Beach, spend the money. I don't have a problem paying the taxes for that, okay? What I have a problem is if we have to buy those 5 garbage trucks to take care of all the growth we have on the other side of the waterway. That's what I'm trying to say. But my only other question I have real quick is on the aquatic center, it's in the budget. We're raising our taxes, and you're saying that that's not affecting us as taxpayers?
Not one bit. Not 1 cent of the property tax the millage increase that we're proposing will go towards funding the AFC. It won't. AFC is all membership revenue and local accommodations tax.
Okay.
And as Ms. Puffer said earlier, if there was some catastrophic thing that took place where we all of a sudden have no local accommodations tax coming through the door, we would be in a position where we would probably have to find the funds through a different source. I couldn't tell you what it would be, but that is a scenario in which we would maybe have to take money from property tax revenue. But that would be catastrophic, and that would be the last thing that we'd be worried about if we were in that position.
Okay. And like I said, I'm all about this, but my only last comment real quick is that we did have a tax increase a couple years ago when you asked the people of Old North Myrtle Beach to pay for the expansion of the sports complex. So there has been a tax increase in less than 9 years. Thank you.
Are there any other comments by the public?
Save the best for last. Dara Baltasconis, 4502 Grove Crest Circle, North Myrtle Beach. I want to begin by saying I do support each and every one of you. And I get it. With growth comes expenses, and they got to get paid at some point, somehow. And I understand that. That said, I come before you tonight to request fairness and equality, particularly in regarding to the potential increase in the stormwater utility fees. The city has consistently justified major improvements in stormwater infrastructure based on public health, flood prevention, water quality, environmental protections, regulation compliance, and long-term stability. These priorities I fully support. But my concern is whether these principles are being applied consistently through North Myrtle Beach. The city recent outfall project on 18th Ave in Cherry Grove serves approximately 3,200 residents. Meanwhile, the Barefoot area contains roughly 3,900 residential units and continues to grow. Conservatively, that represents more than 6,000 residents, making Barefoot one of the largest residential communities in the city. If a stormwater project serving 3,200 residents is considered a public responsibility worthy of public investment, why is infrastructure servicing thousands more residents in Barefoot treated differently? The outfalls in our community are not private amenities. They are critical components of a regional stormwater system that protects homes, roads, property, water quality, and public safety for thousands of residents. The benefits extend far beyond individual property owner. The city has argued that these outfalls were never dedicated by the developer. Even if true, current homeowners had no role in those decisions. We did not design the system, negotiate the development agreements, approve plans, oversee construction. Those decisions were made decades ago by others. It is unfair to ask today's homeowners to bear the financial burden for decisions neither made or controlled. At its core, this is not simply an argument about outfalls. It's an argument about fairness. The question is, should one of the largest, fastest growing residential areas in North Myrtle Beach be treated as a full partner with the city's future, or continue to be viewed differently from every other section of the city? Ask yourself why the current residents continually being asked to pay for developers' mistakes. Why are the homeowners expected to solve problems created by development decisions that were made decades ago? And why should thousands of North Myrtle Beach residents receive different treatment when they pay the same taxes and the same fees as everyone else? Barefoot residents are North Myrtle Beach residents. I apologize. I think you got my basic gift. We just want equality. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
John Karpovich, 5100 Stonegate Drive, North Myrtle Beach. Kind of change things up here a little bit. First thing I wanted to touch on was thank all you council folks for your time and service to the city. We see what you go through. I guess that's just part of the job. We've just finished another 2 bike weeks. My question to the council is, how much are we as taxpayers funding these events? Police, fire, and thank you, chiefs, for your extraordinary tackling of what we all go through. And what are we all getting back from it other than headaches, really? And I know the whole subject matter of the event is a whole nother issue, but is it the city? I know the county joins in, the state joins in with their police services, law enforcement, and so forth. But is the city of North Myrtle Beach really putting out for all of this overtime year after year? And the city operations of the barricades and setting up and breaking down, is that all on us? I mean, is that just part of we're hosting these events and we've got to put up with it?
We do not host those events. We do not sanction them. We do not approve of them. They're held by others.
Exactly, and they're
you can-
hosted in Atlantic Beach. Atlantic Beach, from what I understand, doesn't
Right.
even have a
And
functioning police department right now, and it just gets put off onto others. But if there's, I don't know, we're pretty much absorbing all of that.
Yes.
That chaos and the expense.
Yes.
I'm sorry to hear that. The other one is a most easy one. Why in God's name is this podium facing directly to you folks instead of a 90-degree turn? Because I sit right here and I can't hear what the presenter is saying, and these folks are looking at my butt. Whereas if I just
We could probably turn
if
it.
I just stood here
Yeah.
and presented to you folks as well as these folks, I think it'd be a better world for everybody. So that's my 2 cents. And I don't
We'll
think
work
this is,
on that.
and the camera for the folks at home. And I don't think this will cost us anything.
I
So
got you.
have a good night.
Thank you.
Pam Gibson, 27th Avenue in North Myrtle Beach. Since he brought up Bike Weekend, I live off of 27th Avenue and Ocean Boulevard. The event is, there's Baywatch, and then there's Atlantic Beach. There is a parking lot, which is on the west side of Baywatch where the garage is, which would probably hold about 75 cars. It's a city parking lot that you charge for. It was barricaded. Nobody could park there. So what they did is they parked in our car and in people's yards. They parked in the place that I lived, which we have to hire security for 2 buildings because we have to keep them from coming onto the property so our guests can come on the property and park there. So there's available parking for our guests. So with the security, we pay, the HOAs pay for security to be there during the 4 days of events. I talked to several of the neighbors. They were parking in their yards. They were parking along the streets. They were in beach access parking too, which is right next to Baywatch. They are supposed to pay for parking. Do we charge? That's the question. Do we charge for that, for everyone to park in beach access when the city tickets people on any other day for parking if they don't put their registration in or their license number?
Absolutely.
So you're saying that during that event that people were supposed to be paying to park?
Absolutely.
What happens if they don't?
They get a ticket.
Okay, all right, so I'll assume that took place. So with that big parking lot over there, can I ask why that's closed off?
So I'm going to defer that to our police chief and Public Works. It's more of an operational decision, but I'll be happy to get with you after this.
Okay.
Answer any questions you have.
Sure.
I just want to remind council that this is a public hearing regarding the FY27
Yeah.
budget. We want to keep our
Yeah.
comments and our questions strictly about the budget. There'll
Yeah.
be an opportunity later at the end
Yeah,
of the
I
meeting.
wasn't going to bring it up, but
Yeah, yeah.
since he
So-
mentioned it, so, yeah,
Okay.
okay, thank you so
Thank
much for
you,
listening
too.
to me.
Are there any other comments regarding the budget? Okay, are there any other comments by council? So we will move into item D. Is ordinance first reading, ordinance to set the tax levy for FY 2027. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. We've already commented about this. We've had comments from council and we've had comments from the public. So we will take our vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All against? Ayes have it. We'll move into item E, which is an ordinance first reading, an ordinance to provide for the adoption of FY 2027 proposed budget. Oh, I think I just read the same thing.
That was the levy, the taxes.
Okay, so we're on
E,
E, yeah.
for the actual budget, adoption of the budget.
Got you. Okay. So I read it right. So is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And again, we've already had comment on this. We've had comment from the public, so we'll take our vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All against? Ayes have it. Now we'll move into item F, is a limited obligation bond ordinance first reading to provide for the accommodations fee pledge for limited obligation bonds not to exceed 18 million. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any comment by council?
Yes, I do have a comment about it. Personally, I'd like to study it a little bit more. I know we've approved the budget and it's part of the budget and it's an amendment. But with so much changes in the last year, plus the economy and everything else, personally, I'd like to postpone action on that until we have time to study it some more. I know it's been wore out, and I'm almost a super fan of the Aquatic Center, and I've always supported it, and I really would like to see the expansion of it. However, for me right now, I would personally like to defer that until October when we finish the summer and we see what's going to happen around us. There is a dedicated group that's looking at potentially wanting to build $25, $30 million YMCA across the waterway or next to our sports park. And personally, that's just my position on it.
Are there any other comments by council? I will say that I know we started working on this a couple of years ago, and the aquatic fitness centers is 20 years old. There's definitely some renovations that need to be done, and as it was spoke earlier, it's close to 6,000 members, and it's kind of busting at the seams, but we approved in last year's budget $1 million to do the design. So I don't know, when we first got this and started looking at a millage increase, I also went back and said, wait a minute, the millage rate isn't paying for it, and it's in need, and we have 6,000 members, the majority of them are close to it, majority of them are our citizens, and they're paying for it, and it needs to be renovated for sure, nothing else. But anyway, are there any other comments by council?
I would like to say that there's such a need for childcare in our community. With all these people coming in, we have a lot more children, a lot more families. So I really feel like there are expansions that need to happen at the aquatic center to accommodate the need for these kids. These parents for summer camp get up at 6 in the morning and drive up there and stand in line just so they can get a spot for their children, so that they have daycare in the summer so that they can work. So an expansion for the kids portion of this aquatic center is much needed. Currently, our children have to share bathrooms with adults, which is not appropriate. We need to, when the aquatic center was built, we didn't know the youth side of it was going to grow as fast as it did and have such an important need in our community. So now we see that our child service programs, our kids' activities, are actually what make the most money in our aquatic center. So it does generate a lot of revenue for that aquatic center. And you know why? Because they need it. These parents need a reliable, safe place to put their children. So I think it's very, very important that we take that into consideration. And that would be, one reason that I would support an expansion, whether it's a full expansion or a partial expansion. I would support it for our young families.
Are there any other comments by council?
I just want to say that, it is certainly a commitment that we've made over several years. And, being of the age of the facility, it needs this, in the talk of the why, that may or may not happen. I certainly hope that does, but, our facility needs, it's here for our residents. It's here, it's something that's been come to known for. We have a lot of snowbirds that are here in the wintertime that are here. And that's one of the reasons they come here. But it is certainly a commitment that we have made, multiple times. And, in a way, it needs to stay competitive. And I think, it's time for an update. And with enhancements, and now that, and I'm very familiar with the mothers going there at 6 o'clock in the morning to get in line to get kids in the camp because of the limited amount. So, I think we certainly need to move forward, and it's without question, asset to our community. Community, and as spoken at earlier, we're the city government provides services. We don't manufacture anything. We don't really buy or sell anything, but we provide service for our residents and our tourists. And I think this is something that we need to do to keep us, up the top tier with it.
Are there any other comments by council? Are there any comments by the public?
So just out of curiosity, I know Jerry and Melissa are both on the YMCA board. The YMCA, if it were built, would that not be also something that would be in competition with the aquatic center? But it's also more appropriate that it's typically steeped in providing programs for kids. Do we have any kind of, prospecting on how that's going to affect? Because if you do an $18 million increase and build the expansion, and then the Y takes all your kids, and then we're left with the overhead.
The question here is if.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
and to answer your question, the Y can only take 125 kids. I've already looked into that to see. So if the Y can take 125 and we can increase to take 125, maybe 150, maybe we can cover the demand. There still will be a huge demand for childcare and summer programs.
Can we provide the numbers on how many of these children are actually from North Myrtle Beach, like the residents? Because I know at the CB Berry Center where I teach volleyball, a lot of the kids that come are not from North Myrtle Beach. They're from Calabash. They're from Ocean Isle. They come from very far. So when we say we're providing childcare services, I would assume we were providing them to our own citizens, because I know Ocean Drive is the only people.
Along with a lot of children that are employees, children of our
But do we
employees,
have
too.
those numbers? Because I just would love for us to be able to provide those numbers to our citizens, because our citizens are ultimately the ones who are asking to pay for it. So it's always good to have a map.
But we're not paying. The
That we're-
citizens are not paying
Yeah,
for it.
we're asking the tourists to pay for it.
But technically,
same
we're
way it
all
was
paying
paid
for
for
it,
the
because
first
if
time.
we go to dinner, we're tourists when we pay the tax. If we get gas, we pay the tourist tax. So we're not separate. So you act as though residents are not being taxed like tourists. We are. We all pay the tourist
The only
tax.
tax is local accommodations only applies to out-of-state short-term rentals. So if you stay a night, you pay the local aid tax, but it's not applied to food, beverage, or anything like that. It's just people who are,
$18 million, so I'm not sure I understand how those numbers work.
well, we're talking over the course of 15 years. So that revenue source will be used to pay back the debt that we borrow to build the facility.
Now, you promised the residents you're going to do something about short-term rentals, so I guess we're going to have to be very careful
And
about how
that's-
we balance that, if
And
that's where the money comes from.
And that's a council is,
But I'm just saying, you're telling people different things. So I just wanted to know how the why is going to matter and if we're going to provide numbers, because I think we're talking about things that there's not a lot of substance to. And so that would be good, a study of some kind.
and we can get those, get them to you.
Dana Brown, 2314 Verway Longs, which is really North Myrtle Beach, but I got screwed on your land grab annexation, so just getting that out there. I want to know, are enterprise funds audited? And we can talk offline about the scope of a forensic audit and why we need it. And I wasn't blaming you, but you might want one because of what came before you.
Thank you. And yes, they're audited just the same as our other funds are audited. They are behind just the same as our other funds, yes.
Dara Baltasconis again. Jerry, I have to agree with you. Elementary school is at 100% capacity. We have kids here. The middle school bus comes through barefoot. Kids are sitting on the floor of the bus on the floor. No seat belts, no seats, because we have reached capacity. The kids are here with nothing to do. And if there's an outlet or a resource that we can direct to our youth to keep them off the streets, keep them out of trouble, then I support that 110%. We do have that aquatic center. We have the sports complex. If we could do summer camps, even with a lifeguard program on the beach, or bring in the college students for a marine type exploration, the kids are here. There's no doubt. I have a child in Ocean Drive that graduates tomorrow, and she goes to middle school starting next year. The kids are here in droves. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments by the public?
Mayor, I have a question of Matt. With the expansion, how many more youth programs do you think you'll be able to accommodate, or do you have that idea?
How many more kids?
Yes.
Matt, can you get that microphone, please, so everybody can hear you?
Yes. I'm gonna pick this up. Yeah. Can you hear me? Good. So we're talking about doubling the size of our activity space for our children. So we're looking at, right now, we're right around 70 to 80 kids in the summer per week. We'd be able to double that easily, if not more. Problem now is we're limited to basically one former spin room that we've turned into an activity room. The expansion, we would actually have dedicated space. We'd be able to at least double, if not more, our youth programs. And as Councilwoman McCumbia said, we have a huge need in the city for it. It's the #1 request we get. We hate to make parents get up at 6 o'clock to get in line, but there's no other way we can do it to be fair to people. So it's definitely needed. And again, that's a big part of what we do at the Aquatic and Fitness Center.
Okay.
That's after school as well.
And that's one of our income generators?
Yes, sir. Outside of our membership, outside of memberships, which is obviously is our number one, after youth programs is our number 2 generator. Yes, sir, for sure. And we've kept those prices very, very reasonable. We're one of the lowest. I mean, we could charge a lot more because of the need, and we choose not to keep it reasonable for our families.
Thank you. I've
Yes,
got
sir.
a niece and a nephew that couldn't get in the program because it was full. Shame on me.
Get up there at 6 a.m. in the morning, Hank. Yeah. Just like everybody else.
Dang. That puts a little bit different light on it, Mayor, and I know that, but I just hate to spend money, and $18 million is a large commitment, and it seems like to me a lot of things are upside down right now, and so it is a concern. When would we be making that final commitment to actually enter a contract and do the bond?
It'd be, well, we got another reading, in 2 weeks, and then I don't know, probably fall or something, right?
Could be the fall. I mean, obviously, no one's gonna lend us money without having our FY '25 audit. So
Right.
that's important.
That's right.
We should have it by the end of the summer. We're hoping we'll be back on track for FY '26 by the end of the year. So I confidently believe that by the fall, let's say September, October, we'll have all of our audits back up to speed, and we'll be in a position that we get bond rated. And there's no reason to think that we wouldn't be rated highly and get very attractive interest rates.
Okay. That satisfies me. I think that would give us time. If we see an issue or something crazy going on, we're not going to act, we pull the trigger until the fall. So I'm going to go on with it.
Okay. All right. Are there any other comments by council? If not, we'll take our vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All against? Ayes have it. We'll move into item G, is a reimbursement resolution expressing the intent of the city of North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina to reimburse itself from the proceeds of certain tax-exempt obligations for the expenditure by the city of monies for the renovation and expansion of facilities. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Brian, you want to explain that?
I'll do my best. Marcy might want to jump in, but it's really just a resolution to say, like I said, we're not going to go borrow the money until the fall. And there's a certain, we would like to get going on the renovation part of the AFC because that is part of it, and maybe use some of those funds to get going early. This resolution gives us the ability to say, okay, we're not going to borrow the money officially for a few months, but we can start now, and then we can use the proceeds of that loan to pay ourselves back on the very limited amount of money we can spend in the next 3 months. That way we can get going immediately.
Okay. Are there any comments by council? Are there any comments by the public? Hearing none, we'll take our vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All against? Ayes have it. Okay, we will move into item H is ordinance first reading authorizing the execution, delivery, and performance of a lease purchase agreement and other documents relating to lease purchase financing of certain vehicles and equipment. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
This is kind of similar to almost exactly like the last item we passed, right?
It is. This is just authorizing us to go essentially take on a loan to purchase these very high-priced vehicles.
Right, got you. Okay, is there any comments by council?
I would like to just kind of clarify, even though it says lease, this is really a loan.
It's the same as when you go to buy a truck and you finance it for 60 months or whatever it is. It's just a little fancier wording.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other comments by council? Are there any comments by the public? Hearing none, we'll take our vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All against? Ayes have it. We'll move into item I, which is reimbursement resolution expressing the intent of the city of North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina to reimburse itself from tax-exempt obligations. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
The motion is second. Is there any comment by council? Ryan, do you want to clarify what
Essentially
expound
the
on
same,
these?
same thing as
Yeah.
what we're doing, it's just now this applies to the lease purchase.
Okay. Any comments by council? Are there any comments by the public? Hearing none, we'll take our vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All against? Ayes have it. We'll move into public comment. Is there anybody from the public would like to speak to council? Please come forward, give your name and address. And we have a 3-minute time limit.
Mayor, before we do the first public comment, I just want to put it on the record that Councilman Collins has texted me his vote each time that you have voted, and it has been in agreement with everyone else. So yes,
Okay,
for
thank
each
you
of the
for letting
items.
us know that.
Yes, sir.
Once again, Bob Hutton, 5208 Windy Pines Drive in Barefoot. I come tonight in my normal hat capacity of keeping Water Tower Road beautiful. Our small groups continue to monitor and do timely litter pickups along Water Tower Road from Route 31 up to the intersection of State Highway 90. We were able to get the county to cooperate and get their section mowed. As we all know, there's a state section, there's a county section, and a city section. Through the help of some city staff, I was able to get the right person at the state to get installed just last week, raised pavement markers, which are the reflectors that go down the street from Route 90 to the intersection of Long Bay Road. And, you know, those little suckers make a big difference at night when it's dark outside.
They do.
And I do want to point out, at some point, we'll have to do something at the other end, because I understand the intersection of 31 and Water Tower Road. When you come up from the highway, there just seems to be dark spots. And when I published that we had these things, people started saying, well, can you do anything down at the other end? Because certainly, is that going to be a 7-Eleven? I've been told that first.
It is.
Yeah, so the ambient light is going to help down there. But as soon as you get past the industrial area, there is a dark patch. So past, we're going to have our fire station, and then we have the Centos building, and then we still got a half a mile of Water Tower Road, and there's no lights there whatsoever. So we may want to think about even put pavement markers on the side of the meridian, just from a path standpoint, because I don't think they're that expensive, and they certainly are worth their weight in brightness as soon as your headlights see them, as opposed to the deers that you see in the headlights, and those usually cost more money.
No doubt.
Thank you.
Thank you, too.
Hi, Andrew McGuire, 1609 Little Leaf Loop, Crescent Beach. So I ride my bike, and this is my first council meeting.
Well,
so I ride my bike to the 14th Avenue beach, where the golf cart parking is. And when I first rode there, there was no adequate, appropriate place to park my bike. So I wrote a proposal to Councilman Wober, proposing that a bike rack in our community would be advantageous. As cycling becomes, and I'm going to reach for my notes, so as cycling becomes increasingly popular for transportation and recreation, providing adequate bike parking is essential for promoting this sustainable mode of transportation. The benefits are encourages cycling, more bike racks promote more persons choosing to ride bikes rather than driving and reducing traffic congestion and emissions. And then secondly, it enhances safety. So if you have good bike racks, you can reduce the risk of theft and damage to bicycles. And thirdly, it supports local businesses. Increased foot traffic from cyclists can benefit local shops and restaurants. And she was so greatly able to expedite that and put a bike rack in the 14th Avenue. So that's great.
Good.
My ask is that if we could do this even with other lots. I don't know, maybe I haven't seen that, but that could be done. I think it would be great to maybe put in some other bike racks at some of the other beach parking lots.
So I'll answer that. So yeah, I mean, when you have a one here, one there, I think it's a great thing. I mean, that's something that's obviously a positive. And Councilman Wilbur asked me if we could do it, and I had Matt's team go out and take a look at it, and they're like, yeah, not a problem. So on these onesie twosies, yeah, I mean, we'd love to accommodate if we can. I don't know that it's going to be feasible at all the lots, but that doesn't mean we can't go research it and see where it is feasible, and then maybe, because it does, like everything else, cost money,
Sure.
maybe plan out for providing more on a regular basis down the line. But yeah, I think it's a great suggestion, and anything we can make our community more bikeable,
Yeah.
you know, it's great.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Or any other comments by the public? Yeah, you can come right through here.
Where's Carperbitch at? He's got a good looking butt. My name's Dennis Stamey, 2910 Whooping Crane Drive, North Myrtle Beach, barefoot. First of all, I want to follow the old adage, stand up to be seen, speak out to be heard, and sit down to be appreciated. So I'm going to keep this brief. You guys have an impossible task. Ryan, my son is a county administrator in Virginia, and I know the pressures of having to undo a lot of stuff that's been misdone in the past. And I appreciate your efforts. I appreciate all of your efforts. I want to be positive. I don't want to be the thorn in the flesh. Let me just say this. I know more about the tree of the month in the city of North Myrtle Beach than I do about the strategic plan or the comprehensive plan. Could I make a suggestion? A synopsis. I don't want to read the whole thing, but give us a synopsis of what the strategic plan is. Give us a synopsis of what the comprehensive plan is. I read every email that the city sends out, and I'm subscribed to all the emails. I want to be informed. I think a lot of the confusion and the things that we're having issues with is because we as a public are not as informed as we need to be. And therefore, it's causing consternation on our part, and we're thinking that somehow there's malfeasance or something that's going on that's really not there. But to help eliminate that, you bring sunshine to the equation and to what's going on. And let us see it. And if people don't want to read it, that's on them. I want to see it. I want to read it. I want to be informed. I want to be a good citizen. I want to pay my taxes. I want to see things go on in the city of North Myrtle Beach that will help us. One last thing. Make the developers pay a larger profit when they want to build in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments by the public? Hearing none, I'll need a motion to adjourn. So moved. There's a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All against? Ayes have it.